Hello once again, it's Mr. Pete, your internet shop teacher, and I'm sitting behind my Rhodes 7-inch shaper, and I'm getting ready to sell it. And as a matter of fact, by the time you see this video, it will no longer be here. But before I pass it on to somebody else, I thought that I would do a few basic videos with it, including initially here, how to set it up, how to change the length of the stroke and the position of the stroke, and the very basics that you will need before you turn the switch on. So let's begin. One other thing I'd like to say before I really begin the video, and if you just watch the footage, you'll notice that the machine returns faster than the forward cutting stroke. And that is by design, and there's a mechanism down here, and we call it the Whitworth mechanism, and I did a video on that, and I'll put the link down in the description and up above if you haven't seen that. Quite a few people have seen that. It's just an interesting mechanism and an interesting phenomenon that allows that to happen. So remember, you can make anything you want on a shaper except money. There's two main adjustments that you need to make with the ram. This is called the ram. And that is the length of the stroke and then the position of the stroke. And as you can see now, I've got it set at about a 6-inch stroke. Way too long. That would be inefficient, waste of time and all of that for stock that's only about 1 inch thick. So I'm going to change the stroke, and I'm going to show you how to change the stroke from 6-inch to perhaps 1.5 inches, because we want the tool to come a little bit past the work on both sides. So let's do that. Okay, we'll open the hatch, and when you look in here, this is the bull gear, the large gear, and then we have a pinion gear. That's the small one. That is the motorized portion. Now, in order to set the length of the stroke, we need to put the arrow straight up. I put that arrow in there. So, right toward the ceiling, and that's important. And then if you look here, you can see that there are numbers here from 0 to 7 inch. This is a 7-inch shaper. Well, I zoomed in a bit, and again, can you see the arrow at the top? And then I just put a little bit of white paint along this edge of that sliding block. And notice that it's set on, what is it? 5.5 inches or so. So I will loosen this, and then I will raise that block up to the 1.5 inch mark, which is about between the 1 inch and the 2 inch. Okay, now it's set on approximately 1.5 inch length of stroke, and I'll tighten the square bolt with the forward brake wrench. And let's see if that did the job. Well, now we have a 1.5 inch stroke, but it's in the wrong position. It's missing the work. So let me show you how to adjust the ram to pretty much center it. Now, using the hand wheel rather than turning the machine on, I will bring the tool back so it's as far back as it goes, and you can see it's still in the middle of the stock. So I will loosen this lever and pull the whole ram back. And I want it to be a little bit from the work, perhaps 1/8 of an inch, and then lock this securely. And then before you turn the switch on, it's just advisable that you just use the hand wheel. And so you can see now that I am in the correct position. It's going a little bit past on each side. Now there's another adjustment that can be made, and that is the speed of the ram. There are 3 speeds on this machine. Now originally it was set up with flat belts, and here's the cone pulley. Step 1, 2, and then 3 under the guard, but it had been replaced by a V pulley when someone converted this. And then over on the other side where the motor is, I'll take the guard off and show you how we can change the speeds with this conversion rather than over here with a flat belt. Actually there's 4 speeds. I think I just said 3. And the belt is currently on in the position that gives us 100 strokes per minute, and that's a good all-around speed for, at least for what I do. But of course you could increase it. There's by moving the belt up into this groove, and you can slow it down, and I don't know what those speeds are offhand. The Rhodes shaper has a power feed going back and forth in this horizontal direction. And it's very similar to the South Bend and probably others as well. Now you can feed by hand each time you're making a stroke. Just feed it in 1/8 of a turn or whatever you decide. But there's also a power feed here that is run off of this eccentric, and it can be adjusted as to the amount of feed per stroke. Now there currently is no feed. Note there's a little flat spot on there. Some shapers have an arrow. So that's like the neutral position. So by lifting it and putting the flat down, you can see that engages the feed. And right now it's moving about 3 thousandths per stroke. Now it can be set to run in the other position simply by turning the other way. I'll put it back in neutral. There's a little graduated collar down here, and I'm going to set it to 0. Right there, it's very small in diameter, hard to read. Now I'm going to turn the hand wheel 1 full revolution, so watch that. And you can see that it has moved, I got to get close, 2 or 3 thousandths. I can't even read that, it's so small. Now we can change that. We can make it a little bit coarser feed or a little bit finer feed. And how is that done? Well, by making an adjustment right here. Now there are no graduations on this as there is on the South Bend, so it's baguesse and bagache. So I'll loosen up the bolt, and I'm going to move it in this direction, as you can see, just a little bit. Now, quite a bit actually. Now I'm going to tighten it, and we'll see just how much feed we have. And you can see it's a much coarser feed. Well, how much coarser? Let me check. All right, it's set on 0 again, and I'll turn it 1 revolution, and it moved about 8 thousandths, so that's pretty coarse feed. Now I put an indicator on here, and we can also proof that and see how much it's really moving a little bit more accurately, so watch the needle. Now we want that feed to advance as this ram comes back, like right now. Now it's in the new position and it would start cutting. Now as it goes back, it would be feeding. So in order to achieve that in the correct direction, we can change the position of this from that's the far side of center to this side of center. Now you won't have to change that if you're always feeding, in this case, away from me. Now if I change the direction of feed, and I'll put the flat up this way, so now it's going to feed, take a look, in that direction. I don't know if this is clear as mud or not, but what it's going to do now, I got quite a glare there, is it's feeding right now as the tool goes forward, and we do not want that because it'll leave a little streak across the work, probably. I mean, it'd be minute, but I hope that you understood that. So in this case then, to change that, I move it on the other side of center. Again, there's no graduations, it's bagasse, bagache. So notice now that, again, it's feeding as the ram goes backward on its return stroke. You may not have to make that adjustment very often. Now the entire table can be raised and lowered with this elevating screw in this manner. The manual that I showed in the other one said that there was a graduated dial right here, but there is not on this machine, so it's either been modified or that was an improvement that they made someplace along the line. Now if you had to move the table very accurately for whatever reason it might be, you can use a dial indicator. So here the magnet is clamped up there near the clapper box and the probe down here on the table, and I have set it for 0. And if I wanted to move it, let's say 10 thousandths, I'll go the other way from the 0. 10 thousandths, it's very easy to do it and accurate. If you wanted to cut an angle or a dovetail or something, you might need to rotate or tilt the entire cutting head here by loosening this square-headed bolt, and then it can be adjusted on either side of 0 like that, and then retightened. There is a protractor along here and a rather weak looking witness mark there, like someone just put a punch in there. But that is how you make that adjustment, and then of course make sure you get that good and tight. That's a German word, good and tight. And if you want to swing the clapper box to change that angle, there are 2, well, that's tight, bolts. My gosh, that hasn't been loosened since 1925, and it'll tilt either way. And I haven't talked yet about why you might want to do that. Now this is your gib adjustment for the slide. There are just 2 little screws there, and there is no lock. I think I mentioned that before. There is no lock there like there is on the South Bend. Also, the gibs for the ram are set on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4 set screws. This is the gib for the cross rail, and I really like the way that's set up. It's more like a Bridgeport type of gib, where you just tighten the screw, so that means that is a tapered gib. You might find it interesting to note that there is a triangular brass plaque right here with the name of the original equipment distributor, Federal Machinery Sales, Chicago, Illinois, and I'm sure that's from the early 20s. Well, that completes this little tutorial for the Rhodes shaper in regards to the various adjustments that need to be made just about every time you use the machine. So I hope this was helpful to you. and that you enjoyed the video. And this is Mr. Pete saying so long for now.